Some people you just don't want to mess with. Hey everybody, welcome to After Action Report, your numbers recap show for all Schmoedown matches to keep you caught up on all the action. I'm your host, Megs, here for the Call to Action podcast channel, and we got the first Friday Night Titans event that dropped this past weekend. So much to talk about, so much to break down. We're going to be breaking down storylines, we're breaking down the matches. This was a must-see event, as it will be every week moving into the season, so you don't want to be missing out. But if you did happen to miss out or you want to get caught up on everything that's happening, this is where you want to be. So buckle in. Let's jump right into what happened during this event. We see Liz come in to talk to Ethan Irwin discussing her offer to join the Mercs. She's really conflicted on what she is going to do because she really enjoyed playing with Ethan last year. But Ethan's also not sure what he wants to do. He's still reeling from the announcement that Sam has disbanded the Usual Suspects. He seems very distraught about that. And he just tells Liz to go do what's best for her. We move into next where we see Shannon, Winston, Barbarian, and Gold Leader in matching jackets, by the way, and Adam Witt flocking to Ethan Irwin, wanting him to sign with their respective factions. Ethan quickly becomes overwhelmed and walks away, not able to handle it. Then we move into the match itself, kind of the preamble to the match. We know that Jen Kemp, who recently has been announced to being part of the Den, is going to be playing, but we're not sure who her opponent is. And her opponent is announced to be Doug Benson, who is coming into the match without any faction allegiances. Coming out of round one, Jen Kemp is up by 1, 9-8. Neither of them being able to get the perfect round, but Kemp is able to be up by 1 point. Jen defers to have Doug spin first. He spins away from a wild card slice and ends up taking Gene Hackman. He comes away with 7 out of 10 points, checking down to multiple choice once, misses one question for 2 points, but it is not able to be stolen by Jen, who she spins away from a wild card on her first spin and ends up taking Mel Brooks. She comes away with 6 out of 10 available points, checking down to multiple choice twice, misses one question for 2 points, and that is stolen by Doug Benson for a full 2-point steal, to where Doug has now gained 3 points to now be up by 2, 17-15 going into the third round, where we see that Jen has to answer first, and she hits a 2-pointer in Steven Spielberg. That pushes it over to Doug, who hits his 2-pointer in fantasy sci-fi. Back over to Jen, who misses a 3-pointer in the 1970s, but hits her 5-pointer in Martin Scorsese, sending it back over to Doug Benson, who misses a 3-pointer in sports, as well as a 5-pointer in comic book movies, which does give Jen Kemp the win with a final score of 22-19, where Jen Kemp answered 15 of 19 questions for 79% accuracy and scored 67% of 33 available points. Doug Benson answered 14 of 19 questions for 74% accuracy and scored 58% of 33 available points. So overall, this was a really fun match, back and forth with the scores. Jen was ahead in round 1. Doug Benson comes from behind to be ahead in round 2. But then Kemp was able to stay in the game and push Doug to have to answer some tough 3- and 5-pointers. Ultimately, Jen was able to come away with the win. Both of them had some really good quips during the match itself, so it was a lot of fun to see those two go at each other, and really hope to see both of them in the future. Before we jump into the next match, Adam Witt is heard yelling off camera and comes and announces that after the post-match interviews for the match I just talked about, he has just signed on JTE to be a member of the fan favorites, and Adam Witt will be representing him in this next match coming up against Brendan Meyer. But before we get into the match itself, we also see another scene with Ethan where he is thinking about the title, losing to Marisol, and we see Janine come up to him. And he offers to have him join up with her and reform Time Machine, which was their team back in 2019. Ethan seems excited about it, but wants some time to think about it. Now let's transition into the next match. As was mentioned before, our second match here in our main event is going to be Brendan the Kid Meyer being represented by Coy and the Quirky Mercs, and versus JTE, who has just recently been picked up by Adam Witt as manager of the fan favorite. So JTE is now being managed by him. Coming out of round 1, they are tied at 9. Neither of them are able to hit that perfect round. Brendan Meyer just missing out on it by missing the 10th and final question. In round 2, Brendan defers to have JTE spin first, who spins away from Kevin Hart and ends up taking the Oscars. He comes away with 5 out of 10 available points, checks down to multiple choice twice, misses one question on multiple choice, and also a 2-point question where both of them were stolen by Brendan Meyer for a total of 3 points worth of steals. Meyer spins away from martial arts films and ends up taking Kevin Hart, where he is able to come away with 8 out of 10 points. Checks down to multiple choice once there on the final question, misses that question, and it is stolen by JTE for a 1-point steal. Now, Brendan Meyer does gain 5 points with the steal opportunities and the increased number of questions and points in his round to where he is up by 5, 20-15, going into the final round, where JTE hits his 2-pointer in Disney, but misses a 3-pointer in Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, as well as his 5-pointer in the 1980s. But before the winner could be announced, there is a challenge being thrown out by Adam Witt, saying that the clarity of the question using the word gangster in the synopsis of the answer, which is a fish called Wanda, was confusing for the competitor. The ruling was ultimately overturned, so we do see that Brendan Meyer comes away with the win via TKO with a final score of 20-17, where Brendan Meyer answered 15 of 17 questions for 88% accuracy and scored 83% of 24 available points. JTE answered 14 of 19 questions for 74% accuracy and scored 53% of 32 available points. So we see that Brendan Meyer getting that 5-point swing off the steals opened the door, and JTE getting 2 tough questions there in that final round sealed the deal to give Meyer the win via TKO. But Adam Witt showing why he is a fan favorite as a manager with a clever challenge to try and give JTE that opportunity to avoid that TKO defeat. So it is worth noting here that here in the singles division, we saw a clash of old and new teams champions. Of course, I'm talking about Brendan Meyer being part of Shazam, who are the dominant champions currently and have been for quite some time, especially this past year, and been making a bid for greatest team of all time since they started their run back in 2019. But then you have JTE, who is part of the former 6-time defending champions, the Patriots. So as I said, a little bit of a clash of the old and new era of teams champions here in the singles division. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on JTE as a competitor, Brendan Meyer as a competitor. Both of them have had impressive runs in teams, and they're both trying to get some momentum here in the singles division. But the drama's not done yet. As we see Ethan Irwin come up after the match, he calls Janine to come up with him and ends up double-crossing her, and he is joining Roxy and the Stars. Roxy reminds a very confused Janine that Roxy told her, "Don't trust anyone." DTA being the catchphrase for Roxy this year, Roxy does give Janine a challenge to play Ethan in a match next week, but she does give Janine till Tuesday to decide. Janine, who goes from confused and hurt to determined and mad, accepts Roxy's challenge to face off against Irwin as she's walking away. So this is going to be one of the upcoming matches for next week. Definitely really excited for that. But wait, there's more. There was a second scene at the very end where we see that Ty Lieberman comes in and approaches Whitney Seibold, both of them looking very dapper for sure. And it is determined that they will be joining together as a team. But Whitney doesn't want to play for just any manager. Lieberman's got that covered though, because he has someone in mind. The Flirtenflaus is making his way into the MTS yet again, but this time as a manager. So quite a debut for the first Friday Night Titans event. Big takeaway, you don't want to mess with some of these competitors or the managers unless you want a fight. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode, but don't worry, I'm going to be back next week breaking down everything that happens on the must-see event coming up again on this Friday Night Titans. You don't want to be missing out. But before you leave, please go ahead and make sure that you have hit like on this video, that you're subscribed to this channel, and that you have that notification bell hit so you're made aware every time we drop new videos on this channel. Make sure you're also checking out all the other shows and all the other things that we do here on this channel and over on Twitch. All the graphics that I present here are going to be uploaded to the social media platforms that are listed in the description of this video. You can also find my social media links there so you can contact me if you have any questions or you want to chat about anything that I discussed during this episode. Also, leave comments down on this video. I love talking about what's going on, and these have been some really cool events so far this year, so I can't wait to see what's coming up later on down the season. But until next time, for the entire Call to Action podcast crew, I'm your host, Megs, and this is After Action Report, signing off.